वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर में पूर्ण रूप से समाहित है.
Abhishek Jha, my colleague reporting from Bali, now joins us live. And Abhishek, the Prime Minister has explained he's on his way back to India. It has been a successful 24 hours for him, not just as far as setting the tone for next year's G20 summit is concerned, where he made sure that he told the world that India is going to be a prime global mover. But on an individual level, as far as India and other countries are concerned, there have been progress made on those fronts as well, especially with the United Kingdom.
Of course, and we have seen this today was the first time that Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was holding a bilateral meeting and in the capacity of UK's new Prime Minister, and where he did discuss about the upcoming issues of free trade agreement, and both sides expressed interest and expectation also that very soon they'll be able to sign this free trade agreement that will be first FTA that India will be signing with any European country, and that will open up a new opportunities, area for opportunity for professionals, for people for education, and people for business and other areas also to have connections across the globe. Also, both the leaders were discussing about the issues related to regional security and global security aspect as well. They did discuss about this Ukraine-Russia conflict. Also, we have also seen how the joint declaration of G20 meeting has been adopted, while also having mentioned Prime Minister's phrase that this is not an era of war, and this really tells how the diplomatic, wording and diplomatic way the way India wants to express itself, world is picking up those issues, and they are resonating with the world leaders as well. And today morning it was a very a crisis time when there was this report of Poland being hit by two missiles and two people having been killed over there, and the urgent meeting of G7 was discussing the issue, and it looked like this whole G20 summit could go off the track, and then this whole G20 will be overshadowed by the latest crisis that is erupting in Ukraine and Poland. But somehow it later on got very much on schedule, and Prime Minister did find time to meet various European leaders. Because,
absolutely, every single bilateral was held, including the mangrove visit that started. That's how the day 2 of the G20 leaders began in Bali. It has been a successful Bali visit for the Prime Minister, both on personal fronts with the rapport that he shares with world leaders, as well as for the country, both at the G20 front and, of course, individually with all the countries that the Prime Minister held bilaterals with. Abhishek, thank you so much for getting us the latest. With that, it's a wrap from me on this edition. Thank you so much for tuning in.
For staying with us here at CNN News 18. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Ridhima Bhatnagar. Just when we thought that it couldn't get any worse, new details that have now emerged from the Shraddha murder case will leave your stomach churning. It's not a Netflix series, but a real-life gruesome, sick murder of a young life cut short by her own lover. Over the past 72 hours, the nation has been grappling with details of Shraddha's murder, who was killed by her live-in partner, Aftab. He didn't end the story there. That's actually where it began. He chopped her body in 35 parts, disposed them piece by piece, and continued to live there as if nothing had happened. As police officials now try to piece the sequence of events together, time is running out. 6 months after the murder, will there still be enough to nail Aftab?
On May May 18th, during one such fight that turns violent suddenly, this man loses his temper, and it was somewhere around between 8 to 10 p.m. that this man kind of attacks Shraddha and strangles her to death.
Yesterday, the team of Delhi police brought Aftab over here, and Aftab yesterday pointed out a few places that he claimed that he had thrown the body parts of Shraddha after killing her on May 18th.
I want to first begin by talking about the unanswered questions. As I said, time is running out. The first unanswered question is, and this is a very crucial one, that was it actually an accident? Was this in fit of rage? Or was it a well-planned murder? Because a lot of details that are now emerging suggest that this actually didn't happen in a fit of rage. The other big question is, will the recovered body parts still be in any state as far as forensic sampling is concerned? Because now we're understanding the murder took place in the month of May, which means 6 months earlier. They could possibly be in a really bad decomposed state. The other big question is there any chance of the murder weapon being recovered 6 months on? Can you actually believe anything that Aftab is telling us at this point? The other questions that have now come to light as far as the murder case is concerned. Now we're understanding after Aftab murdered Shraddha, then chopped her body in 35 different pieces and then put them in different locations, he actually even used Shraddha's banking app after killing her. We're getting some specific details as well that he transferred almost 54,000 rupees from Shraddha's account to buy that refrigerator where he in fact stored Shraddha's body parts. We're also understanding Aftab spoke with Shraddha's friends from her various locations of the crime. He's spoken to a lot of police officials on the ground as well. And we already now pretty much know what happened, how it happened. But the larger question is, what is the evidence to nail Aftab? Now time is running out, there's no denying that fact. As far as various teams that are working on the ground, have they made any headway?
See, gathering evidence is certainly one of the biggest challenges that Delhi police are facing, because the case is more than 6 months old. The weapon that he had thrown away, the Shraddha's phone that he is claiming he had thrown away, all those transactions that he had made might still be traceable, but CCTV footage is one of the crucial aspects. No one usually nowhere CCTV footage are safe for 6 months. It's usually a period of a fortnight or maximum a month. That is one challenge the police are facing, because they are not getting CCTV footage of that night when he is claiming that he used to step out of his house and dispose of the bodies in the jungle area. Also, technical analysis of laptop, this man's cell phone. These are some things that police have of sentence that this man will be awarded. Also, because see, when he had been initially saying that he had killed this woman in a fit of rage following an argument, later on it comes out that he was hiding certain fact that Correct. He had told that she had stepped out, but he had actually killed her, chopped her body into pieces. At the same time, he had been sleeping with some other woman. That has also come to fore. Yeah. Now these things, if the court decided that whether this murder was planned in cold blood or was it a fit of rage, that will certainly affect the amount of sentence that he will be awarded. But much before that, police need to file a watertight case. They need to have a strong charge sheet against that. And the only challenge police are facing right now to collect evidences, because so far what the police has is the confession which he has made in his statement. All those scientific facts, as far as forensic evidences are concerned, blood stains have been picked up from kitchen, because there were some corners where apparently this man could not clean with acids and bleaches, and therefore some blood stains have been picked up by the FSL teams. They will be now tested in labs and will be checked with Shraddha's father's sample. This will be a big breakthrough, because if these are Shraddha's blood stains, then it means that Shraddha was present in that house. Also, the bones that have been collected, DNA sample will be.
We have forensic expert Dr. Mahabalesh Shetty. We also have former IPS officer and the former LG of Puducherry, Kiran Bedi. And we also have Dr. Chinu Agarwal, a senior psychologist. Good to have all of you on the broadcast with us. Kiran ma'am, I'd like to begin the conversation with you. Even before we try and get some answers of what possibly went wrong, what are the lapses on various levels, and is there any hope of any evidence being left?
In the sense, because these kinds of dismembered bodies cases have happened in the recent past. some of them have been convicted. So I'm not shocked. But what I'm very angry and dismayed is why are our girls continuing to accept domestic violence to be there? Why are they making homes their prisons? Why have they not got the courage to call out and foul, saying, why are they accepting the first Domestic Violence Act? Why are our educated girls so far maybe thinking that they've modern, liberated? No, why are they accepting? I'm angry at the way the parents are bringing up their daughters. Why are they not grooming them to be strong in life and tell them the realities of life as they come, saying these are the things which you will face, but you will not be a victim. Women will have to be groomed, girls will have to be groomed to be not victims of domestic violence.
Yeah.
I'm angry. Why are our parents not grooming our girls to be strong? Why are our parents not grooming our boys to be responsible and not produce butcher strong enough, enterprising and calling foul and not self-confident, not conscious of the dignity, allow themselves to be disrespected just because they want that home or that man who is womanizing or is alcoholic or is violent or is abusing.
You're raising a very important point, that was it just validation which made Shraddha continue to stay in a toxic relationship, considering the fact she'd already handing the enough time to Aftab to actually get rid of all the key evidence. We don't know if he'll ever find the murder weapon or not. There are some blood stains possibly that have been picked up by the FSL team. But do you think there'll be enough for investigating agencies to still work with something to nail Aftab?
Yeah, good evening. Forensics serology people, they'll do a luminal test and check the whole house. And definitely there will be a stains of blood when you were left. And that stain and requiring of at least 3 or 4 pieces of bone is paramount, and it is enough to nail this person. And I for DNA.
Okay, so that's a crucial point that you're making, that if this was a case where he had in fact burned the body, it would have been a very difficult case. But because it's only a butchered body, there is still hope that you could find these body parts. And if you recover the skull or the head, then there will be a big breakthrough as far as the investigating agencies are concerned.
Small 2 into 2 centimeters bone piece is enough.
Okay.
Forget about the skull or any part. One or 2 pieces of bone is more than enough.
Okay. And you already have the DNA sample of Shraddha's father, which is being taken, and both those samples can be matched then. Dr. Chinu Agarwal, I want to...
Concealment of their crime by murderers and killers like this. So we have to look at, one, their personality traits. Did this person have certain personality traits since childhood or adolescence or in his young adulthood, which can easily be ascertained by people who know him? Third is the level of his aggression. And if you're saying that it was in the moment of rage, we can see that the level of aggression might have been out of his own control at that moment or even before that. Because you are mentioning that Shraddha was telling other people that, she has suffered this kind of abuse even before that. And the fourth and the most important point is, these kind of people, they have something called as SSCD, self-serving cognitive distortions.
Okay.
Where they only want to attach importance to their own thinking, their own feeling, what they think about things. And that is something that is a typical characteristic of these killers.
Okay.
When you ask them, when he will be investigated, he will be, questioned and interrogated, he will always be saying things which are in his own favor.
Okay.
This is called as self-serving cognitive distortion. So
Yeah.
these are some of the
You were
things
saying
that
something that we've actually heard even from the doctor who treated Aftab, who also pointed something similar, that he kept talking about himself, but what he also pointed out that he was extremely restless and aggressive as well. He quickly wanted to get done as far as stitches are concerned and then go back to whatever he was doing. But Kiran ma'am, I want to bring you back in the conversation. As a former IPS officer, we're trying to now understand what really happened, and can you really believe whatever Aftab is telling us today? Because with more details that are emerging, it doesn't look like that this happened in a moment of anger. It looked like he had planned it to great detail with a lot of meticulous planning. Does it look like that this was something that he had been planning for a long time now?
It looks like, so all I can say is, as an investigative officer, everything he says has to be with a very heavy pinch of salt. And therefore, they will have to link whatever he says. Saying, lying, well, you will know if he's lying, but if he's giving you the leads, very welcome, because then recoveries will happen. And as one of your prosecutors said very rightly, even that drop of blood and that one piece of DNA linked body, I think is very good. And even recovery, as I've been saying, Section 27 of the Evidence Act, where the recovery is made by the accused pointing out, is a very valuable evidence, because that's not created. It has happened because of him. It's not an admission. It is a discovery. It's a recovery, and Evidence Act gives a lot of value to it. So I think whatever evidence they've collected so far is pretty good. And even the computer will give you all the story, the narrative of the case. I think it will turn out to be a
mind of this killer and what led him to go forward with this brutality, because he did not just murder his partner, he butchered her body and then disposed it off and continued to live his life. There was no change in his demeanor. So now do you think that he played on the vulnerabilities because he knew there were strained relationships with the family, he knew there were not too many friends, there were not too many colleagues at the workplace, and he could use those gaps to actually go forward with his plan?
If this is a question to me?
Yes, yes. The question's for you.
Okay. I've seen in many murder cases, why do they kill identity? Why do the rapists want to kill and dispose of the body? Why? Only to avoid to be identified, number one. But in this case, I feel that there's so much going prior to that, which he wanted not to surface, and therefore he wanted to get rid of her. He wanted to get rid of her. He had plenty to cover up. He wanted her to be out of the way. What was happening prior to the murder? What was becoming the major? What was she an obstacle to? Womenizing there? Was she crying foul? But she was not crying out in public. But there was something serious which was going on, that she was coming in the way of his promiscuous habits. I do not know. I'm just conjecturing.
Sure.
So I think he's actually punished her.
Dr. Shetty, going back as far as evidence is concerned, some of the details that are now emerging, and the reason I said it doesn't look like this was in a moment or a fit of rage, is that he was a chef, he knew how to cut meat, he knew the angles that would work, that would minimize the blood loss as well. He didn't dispose of the body in one place. He put them in different locations. What is going to be that key evidence that is going to be very crucial to nail this man? Because as of now, as we said, we're only working with the confession. What if he goes to the court and then completely changes that? So we can't really only rely, because that won't hold as far as court of law is concerned. What is going to be that crucial evidence?
Not the brain mapping and not the liar test, the liar test which they got there. But that was only going to help them understand his mind. What's surfacing from the subconscious for him? What is surfacing from the bottom level? That will be a tool of investigation to find certain ways. But it's a technology, it's the DNA, and it's forensics, and the recoveries they make, and how do they connect him to the accused. The blood stain in the house is a very important link. What business? That links the girl with the house. That links with the girl with the house. And all the other clothing, whatever has been recovered, it links the girl with the house. The girl is already linked with him. The only thing is the fact that how is the mens rea? Why did he murder?
Yeah.
I think we've not been able to establish, the mens rea. The fact of the murder is
that I was trying to get some answers to, because we still don't know as far as the motive of the murder is concerned. How crucial is that going to be to piece this entire event together?
not necessarily.
Yeah.
Dr. Shetty.
No, for conviction, actually, motive, intention, execution, everything is required. But execution is already done here. Now the establishment of motive is he want to get rid of this girl. That is the motive.
Okay, but that
so first and foremost, the very fact that the girl is disappeared and she is no more. then the execution has been already done. Now, only thing left to the investigating officer is to just to identify, get the DNA sample and whatever connection, add-on connection, like where he bought the knife, where he got the fridge, where he disposed the body. Even one particular piece is enough. That
No,
motive
but
is not
you know,
that important
but
here,
you know,
because
Doctor.
already execution has been done.
No. As far as forensic is concerned, I agree with your point that even if a small bone is recovered, that will be enough as far as forensic sampling is concerned. The reason that we keep talking about the motive is to try and understand the psyche of the killer. But just going back to the point that you were making earlier, Dr. Shetty, that even if a small bone is recovered, but what I'm trying to understand is because it's been 6 months on, the body could have decomposed, the samples also could have decomposed. So will they still be in a position to be used as far as forensic sampling is concerned?
Definitely, madam. Definitely, 6-7 months is not at all it's not a great thing. Even 1 to 2 years, we can get precipitin test. We can, even a small piece of bone, we can tell whether.
Think happened there? You know, she already had strained relationships with her family. She didn't possibly have too many people to turn into. Do you think that became?
I just, there are things like commitment phobia, or he might have developed interest in other girls.
Possible.
Or maybe he just didn't like her anymore. It was a 3-year-old relationship, and it might be any reason of a fallout. So maybe she was hoping against hope till the last moment.
Okay. Kiran ma'am, I quickly want to come back to you and give you the final word as well. What I also want to understand, overall speaking, this is not the first time that we're seeing such a brutal case come to light. The Tandoor case, there was a similar case that happened a couple of years ago as well. Over the last couple of months also, we've seen, such cases come to light. What enables these killers or these murderers to go forward with such brutality? Is it, I don't know, possibly the lack of fear of law that we'll never get caught, or is it something else? Kiran ma'am? Kiran ma'am, can you hear us? Okay, we'll try and re-establish that connection. But Dr. Agarwal, if you'd want to take that question, that what is it that enables these killers to go forward? Is it the lack of fear of law, or is it something else?
It is, they don't fear anything. They don't fear the consequences. They are absolutely disconnected with the consequences of their own acts. And that's why it is an antisocial personality, or the psychopath, which we call, because they have lack of empathy, they have lack of remorse, they do not bother about the consequences of their conduct or their behavior, and that's why such heinous crimes are committed. If they would have bothered, then they would not have resorted to such kind of brutality.
Okay. A lot of questions, as I said when I started this debate, that still remain unanswered. Only deeper investigation will help us understand of what really happened. There is still hoping that there is closure and there is justice for Shraddha and her family. Unfortunately, I'll have to leave the conversation there. Kiran Bedi, Dr. Shetty and Dr. Agarwal, a pleasure speaking to all of you. We're now shifting our focus to the other big discussion that we want to talk about this evening. In a much anticipated announcement, Donald Trump has announced that he will run for the United States presidency once again in 2024. Donald Trump launched the bid, his third for the presidency, at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, a week after elections in which Republicans failed to win as many seats in the Congress as they had hoped. The former president said in order to make America great again, he is announcing his candidacy for the president of the United States. He also added that he is running because he believes that the world has not yet seen the true glory of what this nation can be. But with President Joe Biden also gaining momentum in the midterm elections, will Trump have enough to sway voters in his favor? Will it be Trump versus Biden in 2024?
I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
There's a lot of people back there.
what Joe was Trump. This is what form.
Years ago, we were a great nation, and soon we will be a great nation. And the choice will overwhelmingly reject the left's platform of national ruin, of national greatness. This is not for a politician or a conventional candidate. Ask for a great movement that embodies the courage, confidence, and the spirit of the American people. This is a movement. This is not for any one individual. This is a job for tens of millions of proud people. This will not be my campaign. This will be our campaign. This force to defeat massive corruption we're up against is you, the American people. True. The American people, the greatest people, love them. And we love ourselves. We're going to bring people together.
Even as we seeing this announcement come from Donald Trump, we want to understand what is in the past. Now, rolling in the 6th January 2021 Capitol Hill attack continues to still haunt him. An attempt to overturn the 2020 election. There is also a classified document at the Mar-a-Lago residence. The New York Attorney General's civil lawsuit also hangs balance, and he's also been deposed in the defamation suit for a rape claim. But if it was going to be Joe Biden versus Donald Trump in 2024, what are going to be the challenges as far as Joe Biden is concerned? Remember the timing of all of this when this is happening. He has the lowest approval rate of Democrat president. The are not optimistic either. They show most voters didn't want Biden again. 64% of Democratic voters want nominees other than Joe Biden. Biden also faces doubts from many within his own party. He's also results as far as polls are concerned. So the question we're asking this evening, can Trump make history? Can he come back in 2024? Before I bring in Matt, I want to play out this report as well. Former U.S. President Donald Trump announced his candidacy in Florida, promising to defeat the Democrats. Trump also claimed that he did some great work during his tenure at the White House. CNN's Daniel Dale brings you this fact-check report.
Former President Trump started his campaign for the presidency in 2024, just as he ended his presidency in 2021, with a whole lot of Mexico. That's not even close to true. In 280 miles or 50 kilometers when he left office. Complaining about the criminal investigation into taking presidential to his home, and he said, well, look, Obama too. He said Obama took lots of things with him. That is also not true. Obama simply did not do so, and this claim was publicly debunked by the U.S. National Archives when Trump first made the claim in August. He said he was the first president to get any revenue from tariffs on China. Such tariff generated billions per year for Trump. Played the climate change of sea level expect, and as usual, he false claims even when the facts were in his favor. For example, U.S. officials have concluded that about $7 billion worth of military equipment that had been given to the Afghan government was left behind upon the chaotic U.S. withdrawal. So Trump could have accurately complained about that. Claim, false claim.
Let me also bring our guest to take this conversation forward. We have Democratic strategist in Washington, Canada. We also have former diplomat with Ray Law, senior journalist author, joining us from Washington. Good to have all of you on the broadcast with us. Calvin, I'd like to begin the conversation with you. Post the midterm results, was there some sort of doubt possibly that Donald Trump could delay this announcement, considering the fact the results hadn't been that optimistic?
No, there wasn't any doubt that he would do it simply because for Donald Trump, canceling or looking in any way weak or that he wasn't a complete and utter success, he wouldn't do that. So we knew it was happening. Now, when it comes to was this the best time for it to happen? If he was going to do it, even people who are
Donald Trump being Donald Trump.
Well, it's obviously Donald Trump being Donald Trump. He's going to do whatever he wants. I mean, as Calvin said, the timing doesn't make any sense, but he can't stand being out of the limelight. Even if it means giving a really lame speech like he gave last night, which he sounded like he was on some kind of downer. And as Daniel Dale said in his fact check, made a zillion false claims. He just can't stand being out of the limelight, so he doesn't care what timing it is. He wants to do it when he wants to do it. He listens to no one.
He listens to no one. I also want to bring in Gurjeet Singh in the conversation. What did you make of the announcement and also the attack on President Joe Biden? One of the most crucial factors that he said was that the Russia-Ukraine war would have never happened if he was president. Of course, critics of Donald Trump have now hit out and said that this is a man who's always lived in denial. But what did you make of the attack that came while he announced his candidacy?
Well, I think that this is just the beginning, and there are going to be a lot of attacks on Biden, who Donald Trump will use as his punching bag to show how efficient he was. And regarding the Ukraine-Russia crisis, everybody knows that Donald Trump had relationships with Ukraine, which are under investigation, and his closeness to Putin was also well established. So on that, he is probably right. But whether Putin would have attacked Ukraine if Donald Trump had been there is not very clear. But certainly, I do think that Europe would not have come behind the United States the way they have done now had Trump been in charge, war or no war. I think the possible return of Trump is Europe's worst nightmare because Donald Trump has announced his candidacy not on time, as he said he would. But he has lost, he's not won 3 elections after winning the presidency. He lost the midterm. Remember, 41 seats down. He lost the presidency. And now you can't really say he has won. And I think Biden comes out as the best performing president in a midterm in about 2 decades. You're right. Personally, Biden is not popular. But when you start putting Trump as a candidate, then you, I think, need to see what Biden's popularity increases. I think the cases that you mentioned and our other panelists mentioned, especially the criminal cases, they make it important for Trump to declare a presidential candidacy and claim some sympathy and possibly a slowdown.
That's why I said, right now we're working with a lot of hypothetical situations as well of what, the real fight will be in 2024. Also, more importantly, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, just by announcing the candidacy, you don't immunize yourself as far as prosecution or other cases concerned. But the other reality also is, so do you then think this is an opportunity that Donald Trump had been waiting for?
I don't really think this works in Donald Trump's favor because as you just cited the figures with the exit polling, there's a pretty high level of disapproval for Biden. But guess what? When the voters had to choose between Biden and the Republicans, they chose Biden, which showed that the alternative, much of which was Trump-backed, Trump-styled. So when it comes to voting, I don't think you can necessarily say there are plenty of Democratic candidates that can step into that place. Come on, because we got 2 years before the 2024 November elections. And I just want to say one other quick thing. One of the things that we've discussed a lot in this country is President Biden's age. He'll be 80 on Sunday, which that's a major factor for Biden, his family, and for Americans. But to put it all in context, Donald Trump is 76. So, we have to, everybody's age is different and how they have the drive and the stamina. But I think it's going to be a complicated decision for Biden that he'll make, I think, probably in the beginning of the year.
Okay. Ray, what I also want to understand is, as far as the prospects for Donald Trump are concerned, do you think the Republicans have moved away from Donald Trump? Also, look at the kind of support system that he had earlier. His own family, Ivanka Trump and others, have made it very, very clear that they want to focus on their personal life while they'll always support their father, but not in the political arena. Do you think he's losing support from a circle that he had earlier?
Yeah, I do. I think he has definitely lost some support. But I mean, a lot of people now are saying, oh, we won't support him. You saw the National Review with a headline that said no. Well, you know what? If he's the nominee, they're going to fall in line because they can't bear to support a Democrat. You have very few profiles encouraged like Adam Kinzinger or Liz Cheney. So they're talking tough now. But how many people have openly come out and said, in the last 12 hours, no, we don't support him? How many people have said they're going to run for president? We've already seen Tom Cotton, senator from Arkansas, rumored to be a presidential contender, say he's not going to run. Ron DeSantis, who ended on a high last week with his reelection, he's not so sure if he's going to run. He doesn't need to. He's only 44 years old. So we haven't seen anybody come out and challenge him. And absent that, he's the favorite to be nominated again. Somebody's got to take him on. And if they don't take him, it was too late.
Yeah.
So if there's an alternative to Trump in the Republican Party, he or she has to make themselves known right now and get after it.
And Ray, also I want to understand before I go back to Gurjeet, why should we blame only Donald Trump alone? If the Republicans had such a strong footing, many would have said they should have swept as far as the midterms were concerned.
Well, they don't have a strong footing. I mean, yes, Joe Biden is unpopular in some circles, but even, the exit poll showed, like in Pennsylvania, the people who didn't approve of his performance as president still voted Democratic because they looked at the alternative. Republicans won in places where they were favored to win. You saw very few outright upsets outside of, say, upstate New York for Republicans. So they're not on the ascendancy. Things could change in 2 years, definitely. But, this was not a good midterm for them because in some cases they had totally rigged the districts to elect Republicans. You look at a state like Wisconsin, where they didn't get the majority of the vote, yet they have two.
That if it is going to be Biden versus Donald Trump, whose presidency has worked better so far for Biden vis-a-vis what we've seen the previous terms of Donald Trump as far as India is concerned?
I think India has got good bipartisan support from both. We had a very good relationship with Donald Trump, and he was very gung-ho on India and the Indo-Pacific. He was not so gung-ho on ASEAN, and he would ignore them. Whereas Biden, we should not be concerned so much about either of them. But yes, the Biden administration has tended to use Pakistan to the detriment of India, though in their view, they are doing it to balance their evacuation from Afghanistan. Now that Donald Trump was actually more clear. He put Pakistan at the spearhead and said, you got to behave in a particular manner. And that is something we do miss.
Okay. I want to go back to the leader today on the ground.
Asking me?
Calvin.
I think that there are some things that President Biden is going to be able to accomplish. Before the midterms, everyone was trying to see if, guessing if the Republicans would win the House or the Senate or both. And while the Republicans most likely having the House is going to put a stop to probably most everything that Biden wants to do proactively, it's a lot better than if they had won the Senate. Because when we think about appointments, judgeships, ambassadorships, a lot of things have to go through the Senate, and the Republicans would have just obstructed it all. There will be some definite fights over the debt ceiling we have coming up in December, defense reauthorization. I think that the Senate and the House now are going to try to do as much as they can in what we call the lame duck session before January. But I think it's going to be President Biden proposing and opposing the Republicans and really not getting much proactive done.
Okay, Ray, I'll give you the final word. I'm trying to understand what is Donald Trump trying to achieve by announcing his candidacy at a time when many within his close circle possibly thought it wasn't a great time. Is it Donald Trump hoping that by announcing the candidacy, this is going to immunize him from prosecution?
I hear people say that. I don't think that's going to happen. If he's going to be prosecuted, he'll be prosecuted. I mean, that's up for the legal system to decide. I think by announcing now, he freezes the Republican field. He makes every other Republican contender think very carefully about whether he or she wants to take on Trump, who's sitting on a ton of money, who can go negative on anybody, and he's shown the willingness to burn the house down to make himself happy. So what he does is make everybody think twice about whether they want to run for president against Trump in the Republican primaries.
Okay, we'll leave the conversation there. We'll have to see how this goes. Ray Locker, Calvin Dark, as well as Gurjeet Singh. Always a pleasure speaking to all of you. I'm going to leave the conversation there. We're slipping into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back with a wrap of all the other stories that made news through the day.
What they are doing is not in accordance with law.
UP police SUV has hit toddlers who were crossing the road in Uttar Pradesh's Bagpat. The video has gone viral on social media.
2 children were hit by a vehicle on a busy street in Bagpat district of Uttar Pradesh. A viral video footage of the event shows a vehicle charging in and striking the 2 youngsters as they crossed the street. The kids were taken straight to the hospital and the treatment is underway. The vehicle turned out to be a police response vehicle. The vehicle that hit turned out to be a police response vehicle. The footage shows bystanders rushing to help children right after the car hit. According to the authorities, children have received minor injuries and are no longer in danger.
NASA is finally moving forward with the Artemis 1 moon mission. The project got delayed post the rocket getting plagued with leaks as well as damage from Hurricane Nicole. But after repairs, it's all set to be launched tomorrow morning.
NASA says it's on track for the Artemis 1 mission to launch Wednesday. That could pave the way for US astronauts to return to the moon. The launch of NASA's most powerful rocket ever, which is carrying the uncrewed Orion spacecraft, is targeting a 2-hour window for liftoff, beginning at 1:04 a.m. Eastern Time Wednesday. That's if all goes to plan. Previous launches have been scrubbed because of bad weather and technical issues. NASA says the mission is still ready to go, even though the mega rocket sustained some minor damage after Hurricane Nicole swept across Florida last week. If and when Artemis gets off the ground, it has some lofty goals. The first mission is expected to be a 25-day journey to the moon's orbit and back. Artemis 2 repeats the trip, including astronauts and a lunar flyby. Artemis 3 plans to put astronauts back on the moon's surface.
Tennis star Novak Djokovic will be playing the Australian Open after being granted a visa. The Australian government had decided to grant the unvaccinated Serb a visa for the Grand Slam. This year's championship was overshadowed by the 9-time Australian Open champion, who was sent back on the eve of the contest after a high-stakes legal battle over his visa status. Australia's New South Wales is reeling under heavy rains. Hundreds of homes have been inundated in and around the city following powerful storms overnight. Hundreds of residents were also rescued with the help of helicopters and boats.
Houses, highways, bridges, farms, everything is underwater. Torrential rains are wreaking havoc in Australia's New South Wales. More than 200 flood rescue operations were conducted in the state over the past 24 hours. This after weeks of record rainfall have
in China. That's put the car's safety record in question. The accident was caught on camera and it's been widely shared on social media.
2 people, including a schoolgirl, were crushed to death in China after a Tesla ran over them. The horror was caught on CCTV and the video has gone viral on social media. The footage shows the driver allegedly losing control of the vehicle while trying to park it and then rammed into a motorcyclist and a high school girl. The incident took place in the first week of November in China.
Delhi is leading from the front and is a ray of hope in what is an increasingly complex geopolitical world in the 21st century.
इंडोनेशिया से सीखने के लिए भारत के पास बहुत कुछ है और अपनी
Welcome back. Thanks a lot for staying with us. Let's also now get your wrap of all the other stories that we are tracking. Senior Congress leader and Rajasthan in charge Ajay Makhan has penned a letter to the party president Mallikarjun Kharge citing his inability and unwillingness to continue as the in charge of the state. Makhan has further stated that he wants to concentrate on Delhi and its key issues such as air pollution. He's also laid emphasis on the leadership rejig in Rajasthan ahead of the Bharat Jodo Yatra and the upcoming by-election. BJP party members have staged protests against DMK government for hiking the retail price of milk, property tax and power tariff in Tamil Nadu. Demonstrations and sloganeering were held in front of the Rameswaram bus stand and across several other places as well. BJP President Shraddha led the demonstration along with a large number of BJP workers who participated and raised slogans to emphasize their demands. People in Bengaluru continue to bear the brunt due to pothole menace in the city even after the Karnataka High Court pulled up the BBMP several times for failing to address the menace of potholes in the city. Remember, just yesterday, a 55-year-old man was killed after a tractor ran over him when he slipped while trying to avoid a pothole. President Draupadi Murmu virtually laid foundation stone for the Defence Microbiological Containment Laboratory during her visit in Madhya Pradesh's Gwalior. She also laid the foundation for the Ratpani Itarsi 4-lane road project as well. The President said it will provide better connectivity to the people. Meanwhile, the DRDA TAP will also help the country in effectively dealing with menaces like the COVID-19 pandemic in the future.
DRDO की ग्वालियर स्थित मैक्सिमम माइक्रोबायोलॉजिकल कंटेनमेंट लेबोरेटरी का शिलान्यास करके मुझे प्रसन्नता हुई है। इस प्रयोगशाला के स्थापना से देश न सिर्फ बायो डिफेंस के क्षेत्र में आत्मनिर्भर होगा बल्कि भविष्य में कोविड-19 जैसे चुनौतियों का प्रभावी रूप से सामना करने में भी सक्षम होगा।
The higher reaches of Kashmir Valley received fresh snowfall while rains also lashed the plains, leading to the closure of the strategic Srinagar-Leh highway and the Mughal road, connecting South Kashmir with Poonch and Rajouri districts in Jammu division. Border Roads Organisation or the BRO has started the restoration work and the road will now be reopened soon. The 17th G20 summit is officially concluded in Bali, Indonesia, with the Indonesian president handing over the baton of presidency to India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Although the second day of the G20 summit was dominated by the Poland missile attack, world leaders visited a forest in Bali to plant mangrove trees in a message of unity for climate action. Member nations also made a declaration to boost trade ties, anti-terror cooperation and condemned Russia's war in Ukraine. NASA's New Moon rocket blasted off its debut flight with 3 test dummies aboard, early bringing the US a step closer to putting astronauts back on the lunar surface for the first time since the end of the Apollo program 50 years ago. The rocket will propel an empty crew capsule into a wide orbit around the moon, and then the capsule will return to Earth with a splashdown in the Pacific in December. 2 Polish citizens have been killed after a missile landed in eastern Poland about 15 miles from the country's border with Ukraine. Now, this is the first confirmed instance of the war in Ukraine having caused casualties directly in another country. It's unclear who fired the missile, as Ukraine claims it was fired by Russia, but Russia has denied any role in the incident. On the other hand, Russia's defense ministry has also said no strikes were made on targets near the Ukraine-Polish state border.
Yesterday's explosion took place as Russia launched a massive wave of rocket attacks across Ukraine. We have no indication that this was the result of a deliberate attack. And we have no indication that Russia is preparing offensive military actions against NATO.
At least 156 people have died and more than 6,900 hospitalized as cholera cases spike in Haiti. Experts have also warned that the situation could worsen now as the country is bustling once again after a fuel blockade that lasted 2 months. The United Nations, along with the government, is seeking $146 million to help fight cholera. At least 500,000 people in Haiti are currently at the risk of contracting this disease. Oscar-winning actor Kevin Spacey will be charged with 7 additional sex offences in Britain after already facing 5 accounts of sexual offence. These charges relate to incidents between 2001 and 2004. The prosecuting authority approved the charges following a review of the evidence gathered by the Metropolitan Police in this investigation. And in Seen Unseen today, we're leaving you with these heartwarming visuals of a dog bowing down before a Ganesha idol outside a temple in the national capital. Thanks a lot for watching.
Certain element that is saying when we have nothing to do with the government, when we don't take any aid from the government, then the government has no reason for any oversight.
There was no objection as long as the Lotus is formed under the Congress government, but it's a problem the moment the BJP has Lotus as its symbol and Lotus then stops being a national flower.
In Kerala, the opposition that is coming from the governors is also political in nature. If the governor is constantly at loggerheads with the state government, then how will the state government function?
Namaste, Jai Hind, and thank you for joining us on this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. The Shraddha murder committed by Aftab, as he has confessed to the cops so far, has shocked the nation. For the last 48 hours, this has been the conversation all around. How gruesome it is, how barbaric, how diabolic, and are people going to learn to become criminals as they watch web series, etc. There are corners which have also said that this is an ill in society or a malaise in society because there is a larger pattern to it. And some politicians like Ram Kadam and other ministers have also come out and used the coinage that is love jihad, saying that this is being done with an underlying hatred of one group with another group. So it's a Muslim hatred or using love to trap, ensnare Hindu girls and then perhaps use them, kill them or then kill them, however it is. Now, that's a larger political argument to it. But what we are trying to do tonight, ladies and gentlemen, first we'll bring you up to speed on the day's development on what happened in the Shraddha murder probe, where it is so far. The cops have to piece together the evidence. They have to make sure that they have a case itself, the 5-day remand that's coming up, and they have to make a strong case in court for an extension of the police custody. They also have to corroborate all that he's saying in court with the cops with hard evidence. Otherwise, they will have to register a statement in front of a magistrate, because what he's saying right now to the cops need not necessarily be admissible in court, because he could claim that he's made all these claims under duress, and he is quite devious. The entire, it's quite shocking, the details as it comes out, that for 6 months, this man lived not just with the murder, but also with the body of the person who he claimed to love and he moved with from Mumbai to Delhi. So let's try and look at what are the details so far that we have. 1. The cops decide on psychoanalysis of Aftab because they have to prove in court that this man is not insane. His mental makeup when he committed the murder and when he's confessing to it have to be proven. Then, the other important part, that Shraddha's father had a 3-minute 48-second long conversation with the News18 network and also said that they were not very happy with what she decided to do, but she broke all ties with the family and went to live with this man. Shraddha's and once again, the other aspect that we've been able to find out, Diwakar Singh and also Mihir have been able to find out, praise Vivek Gupta, they all have worked together and tried to piece together where were they staying. Shraddha and Aftab